Two experts in ICF.
Yeah.
Decades of experience. One podcast. Yeah. Two hosts with a lot to say.
Look, I cannot sit through a struggle. I gotta get up and hustle. I gotta push through the pain, because really that's how you build muscle.
Welcome to the Build With ICF podcast with your hosts, Trevor Brown and Heather Herring Brown. Yep, they're a package deal. With over 20 years of ICF installation experience, Trevor can throw down some expertise on sales, marketing, and training. On the other side of the table sits Heather, aka the girl boss, and she's earned the title as the owner of an award-winning ICF construction company, a drafting and design company specializing in ICF. And the numbers? With a master's in accounting, she does that too. Sleeves up, boots on. This is the Build With ICF podcast.
I don't want nothing for free. I'm here to work. Been through the dirt. I've been through the dirt, yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome back.
To a very long hiatus we took here a little bit.
I wish it was a hiatus, but we were just
busy.
busy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's that time of year. It's that season for us. It's building season.
We did not, I'll be honest, we just didn't know how doing a podcast during building season was going to work. We thought it'd be pretty easy to slide different episodes in.
Well, and we thought it'd be easy to get guests too. And a lot of our guests, it's just been...
They've been busy. Yeah, we've had trouble when they're available. We're not. And they're nah. So yeah, it's been kind of crazy. So we're at episode 26. I do apologize to everybody. We've had a few weeks off here, which was, not our plan, but we just had a lot of cool things going on, but a lot of things going on, a lot of ICF things going on. So, it was all good stuff. It's not like we meant to abandon our listeners. Don't hopefully hurt anybody's feelings.
If so, we're sorry.
Yeah, we're very sorry. So kind of cool though. This is gave us a good opportunity to come back with a pretty cool episode. We just spent the last week in Washington, D.C. at the National Association of Home Builders LegCon.
Yeah.
It's their spring leadership meeting, which is also known as their legislative conference. So LegCon, right?
Yes.
LegCon 2024.
Yeah.
Sounds like something like a Star Trek thing would be, but it was awesome. We were on Capitol Hill. We got to meet with congressmen and representatives and senators and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, and it's the interesting thing to me, like I've been a member of our local association for a long time. I'm a past local president. I'm our current state president for Idaho Home Builders Association. And this year, I think was like a lot more conversations around ICF, concrete homes, alternative building systems, and all that kind of stuff. I think this year for me was, it was more out there, like forefront.
Yeah, it was. Well, and for me being in it longer, I've never seen it like this, like to where we were getting just the approached about it. Like, it was just interesting. Like, people know, there's certain people there. Obviously we've as well been involved locally at the state level on what we call our national associate director. So there is if you're familiar with the National Association of Home Builders, if you're not familiar with them, you should be getting involved. I'll definitely plug the NAHB and, your local branch. It is a 3-for-1 membership. So when you join, you're as small as the organization is, whatever it is in your town that you join, that is usually they're called an HBA, Home Builder Association, or possibly a BCA, Building Contractors Association.
Or a BIA, Building Industry Association.
Building Industry Association. There's a few different acronyms that you may hear. But anyways, in your local, when you join that, you're also part of your state, and then you're a part of national. So like when you pay those local dues, you are now part of the state board. You're now part of the state association, and you're part of the national association. So there's a 3-for-1 membership that a lot of people don't take advantage of the state and the national portion of it. They just think it's a local thing. So we've done that. We've gone from our local to our state to national now, and we both have positions on national committees and national councils and stuff. So we do travel to the 3 times a year. There you have LegCon, which is always in Washington, D.C. You have IBS, the builder show down in Vegas every year. And then we have a fall meeting that rotates. It travels. So, it's going to be in Texas this year. It's in Denver next year, and then Detroit the year after that. So it just moves around the country, different places for it. But a lot of really good stuff, and where people come together from all over the country to talk about things about in the home building world, in the industry. So anyways, really plugging the fact of membership and getting involved. That money goes to a lot of really good things, and it helps make our industry better as a whole building industry. And what's exciting in that is that we're seeing our more specific industry of the insulated concrete form industry getting some playtime forefront. Before we went out there, I got called by a gentleman that runs the Building Systems Council. They put together a lot of the educational programs for the NAHB.org, the website for the Home Building Association, and they've asked me to do an ICF
shop talk
on ICF and how to, just a basic shop talk on ICF and to get it back in front of people and talking about it, being able to be involved. I'm on the Building Systems Council board of trustees. They call it, they're the board.
You're on the committee, the building systems committee.
Yeah, but that's a board. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't say trustees. Anyways, something like that. Anyways, on that, and that gets us in front of basically it's a group of people that includes log home manufacturers, the modulars, basically looking at alternative building methods to just your standard stick frame, right? Yep. It's giving us a seat at the table at the national, which has been primarily just stick frame guys at the NAHB, right? And at the national level, it's giving us that voice. So, 3 times a year we meet. We have some different Zoom meetings and online meetings, stuff like that. But we meet 3 times a year in person, where we get people from all over the country, and it's all guys that are alternatively. Yeah. And now we have ICF represented on that committee, which is awesome.
Yeah. So I sat in on that committee because even though you are technically on that committee, you weren't able to be there because they scheduled you somewhere else. And so I was able to sit in there, and I think they were talking about how there was a jurisdiction, or there was some code that was trying to make it illegal to build a log home. You had to cover the log home with some kind of composite siding or whatever. So what's the purpose of building a log home if you're going to cover it? And so, with the help of the NAHB, they got that stopped. Otherwise, they were going to shut down a whole industry of home building. And right now, home prices are already, home availability is hard. It's, attainability is difficult right now. So shutting down a whole sector would have created additional constraints on building. So, getting a seat at the table now as the ICF industry, I think, is really important. It's really cool now that we have that. And there's another guy on there that I think what does he do? He does concrete. The other guy on the Building Systems Council.
Yeah, he's worked with ICF before and stuff, but he's
been the lone he's been the lone concrete guy for a while. So now that you're on that committee as well, you've got more representation. So that was super cool to be a part of. So yeah, I went and took notes at that one, and talking about, I'm on the design committee. And in that one, they were talking about different ways to design for sustainability. And specifically, they were talking about natural disaster areas. And it's a room full of, the design committee is a room full of architects and engineers and drafting company owners, as well as builders. So it's
Charlie, the podcast dog, is making a bed down here, so he's scratching, so they may or not pick that up. I don't know. It sounds really loud when we're here, but it somehow gets edited out in the equipment. But yeah, it's going off what you're saying. It's definitely something we're just seeing. It was exciting to see that conversation even happening. And
literally, I'm sitting in my meeting and you're in yours, and I'm texting you going, oh my gosh, they're actually talking about ICF. And then, you're doing the same thing. It was crazy to have all that happening. So good crazy. And I think that it's important as ICF manufacturers, ICF distributors, ICF installers, builders, that we really get involved with our local associations, get involved at a state level, at a national level, because I really am seeing, with the amount of talk about it at this one, I'm just seeing it increasing. And I think everybody, getting involved will be beneficial.
Yeah, no, it only helps. I mean, as an industry, it only helps all of us to get the word out to different people. I had multiple conversations just outside of the meetings, because you get up and a lot of times I'm involved at different levels of the association, and like I said, I started to talk about, and I got sidetracked on it, was for people that are not familiar with the National Association of Home Builders, you've got a builder member, and then you have an associate member, and the associate member is a supplier to the builders, right? And we actually make up. So I am an associate member as a ICF supplier and installer subcontractor, right? You are a builder member as a general contractor. We actually make up. We being associates actually make up 66% of the membership of it. So I mean, we're 2/3 of the membership are suppliers, right? So that's a huge opportunity for us in the ICF industry to be, to get our, out there. That's my role at the National Association. At our state level, I'm our national associate director, meaning I represent all the suppliers, and I go out to DC and I represent the state of Idaho there. And then at the national level, I represent all the associate members in the whole U.S. as the voting member on the Build PAC trustee, which is basically our political action committee that divvies up funds and raises funds for getting the right policies in place and candidates in place that we need to get it rolling. So as an associate, that's what ICF suppliers would be, right? You'd be an associate. So people start, I'm in enough of those meetings, I'm talking about what I do, or I'm introducing myself or something, and then people grab me out in the hall. Hey, I got the guy that's doing ICF, or I know that, we're thinking about using ICF on this project, blah, blah. Amazing to me. I mean, every year it gets a little better. This year seemed like it took like 5 or 6 steps forward. Like we just had a ton of people. The resiliency thing was at the forefront. I mean, we buzzword that like crazy. And I mean, it was brought up in multiple meetings we were in that they were talking about the resiliency, that they've even put together a group of people, a work group around trying to get resilient homes more, put more importance on making the home resilient. And there's nothing in the world more resilient than an ICF home. So, tornado areas, they talked about the damage and destruction of tornado areas and all these natural disasters and stuff. It's like, well, how about when we build houses, we don't have to worry about that. And they're talking more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big topic in a lot of the meetings was, when you're looking at these areas that are hit every year by some kind of natural disaster, be it fire or a hurricane or a tornado or whatever, and then the cost and the amount of debris and waste in the cleanup, and then to come in and then have to do the rebuild, only to know that
it's going to happen
again.
And they're just getting tired of it. Like we've said this for years, but it's the first time I've heard people on a stage in front of 1,000 people saying they're getting tired of it. Insurance companies are literally coming out and saying they will not insure people. They will not insure homes in these areas because of it. And that's something that we saw a couple of years back. It started in California where ICF became very, very, very popular because of the fact that there were places where they're saying, we're not going to insure your house.
Yeah. Or it's going to cost you
$1 bazillion. Yeah. You have to be self-insured, or it's going to cost you a ton of money for us to carry you. Most carriers, a lot of the big carriers just stopped insuring in California. They just pulled out of state, dropped their license or whatever there. And so I knew several people that I know personally that just didn't have, they got their home insurance taken away, and they basically had to go shop it and find it somewhere else. Or the other thing is you build a house so you don't have to worry about that.
Exactly.
If you don't have insurance, that's fine, because the fire blows through, it's not going to burn your house down. That's what they're worried about. Same thing in tornado areas or hurricane areas. But it was just something that was really different where I had a conversation with one of the guys that's in that group afterwards, and he was just like, yes. He's like, we talk about that to, like, we're trying to explain to people that you have the option to build a house that is going to withstand this happening. Well, please, like, build with something. So it's definitely something that's being brought about in the more of a, in the forefront of everybody, putting it out in front of people, saying, hey, this is something we got to really think about. So it was pretty cool that way. I think we were very well represented with ICF and stuff that we were talking to people about, things like that.
Yeah, I was in custom home builder committee, and that's when I figured out how I got on design committee, because I wasn't exactly sure how I got on that committee, because I wasn't asked to be on that one. I just was assigned it. So, but in custom home builder, it was interesting. They were going over a survey from home buyers. So in 2023, the NAHB did a survey of people in the market looking for a new home. And they asked them everything from how much square footage are you wanting? They did the same thing with builders as well, with custom home and I guess not tract home, but like the national builders.
Yeah.
When they build out huge subdivisions. But so they did a survey of the builders. They did a survey of people shopping for homes. What do they want versus what are we building? And, it was interesting to see the square footage, what rooms are important, what things are important in a house to those people that were in the market shopping for homes. And then one of the questions that they asked, and I took a picture of the slide because it was awesome. So I sent it over to you, but basically the question that they asked home buyers was, what material do buyers want to frame their homes with? And the answer was 37% want their home framed with wood, 25% want their home built out of concrete, and 23% said steel. So I'm sure there's still that the math doesn't quite add up. The rest of them didn't really know what their houses were framed out of.
Right.
So
CMU
unknown,
could be or whatever.
Yeah. But the fact that concrete was on there at 25% and wood's only at 37%.
Dude, that's huge, considering that we still make up less than 10% of the construction industry. So we're, houses built, we're still, I think last I heard, 8-9%. I think it's probably rising. We've got to be getting close to going over 10 at some point here soon. And maybe somebody's going to holler at me and say it's over 10. It might be, we're getting close. But still, to say that 25% of people wish that their house or want their house to be made out of concrete and only 37% in wood. And we talk about this all the time. If you look historically and you look geographically, North America is one of the only places in the world where we primarily build with wood.
Yeah.
It's not a product that people feel comfortable building at. There's not, you've got your occasional structure, but go through Europe and look at how much stone and rock and concrete it is.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of wood houses around there. And it's, and so it's something that I see that, everybody thinks that we're so old here in the U.S. and we have all this stuff. We're a very young country and comparatively to all these other countries. Yeah. And we're one of the only ones using wood primarily. So I think people are getting smarter to it. That's why that survey was out and looked like that. It was definitely surprising to me that, because there's just so many people still that go, you build houses out of concrete? Oh my God. What's it? They don't know what it looks like because it looks like just a big square box or, it's like, no, this is how it looks. But it's amazing that, like I said, the fact that these conversations were being had in Washington, D.C., on one of the biggest stages, probably, second largest to the International Builder Show, for home builders in the United States to be attending. Like the leadership conference for the National Association of Home Builders. And we were in multiple meetings, multiple times where concrete homes were brought up in one way, shape, or form, which primarily points right back to ICF.
Well, and you and I have had this conversation numerous times over the years where they're talking about energy codes and how we need to be more energy efficient and how do we do this and how do we do this? And we're like, well, if you just built with ICF, you're exceeding all of that already right out the gate. For the same price as building the wood structure that you're building that doesn't meet that code.
Right.
Let's exceed it with ICF. So it was interesting to be sitting in those meetings and having talks with our state representatives at Capitol Hill, having the talks about energy efficiency and about these different things. It's just very exciting.
Right. And yeah, I think another point is even the conversations that were not around ICF, quote unquote, pointed back to us, and sitting in those rooms and listening to these people talk about, how do we got to get the energy efficiency better. How do we make these, hypothetically what they're saying is, how do we make these stick frame houses more efficient to be able to meet these codes these stringent codes that are coming up? well, we're just kind of sitting back smirking in the back of the room, like our hand up. Well, you could build them with ICF, and then you wouldn't, this would eliminate all of these things, majority of them. You're going to surpass these codes that you're all freaking out about. I mean, granted, I'm right there with them fighting these codes. They're ridiculous. I mean, some of the stuff they're doing, and, don't get me on my soapbox, but to those of you that will listen, please, please, please understand that, nationally, over 25% of your the cost of your home goes to laws and permits and local jurisdictions, codes and like oversight, stuff that has been done by the government, stuff that is going to the government, 25% before a hole is ever dug. So this whole bad guy idea of that builders are making all the money and that's why it's not affordable. No, it's not affordable because you keep allowing these politicians to make stupid laws and rules and codes that we don't need to be dealing with.
Well, one rule for everyone in the entire U.S. does not really make sense because we are not all
federal
living.
Code doesn't make sense at all.
No, and that's why most states have their own code. And we want to build energy efficient structures. We want to build, safe structures. Code was originally implemented for life safety.
Correct.
And that's kind of what we need to get back to and give people an option in building their home. Yes, it needs to meet certain standards. I agree with that. But trying to make, all areas be equal doesn't really make sense.
It's basically like, let's put this in the way of cars. Let's put this in an analogy that's like cars. This is like the government coming out and saying that everybody needs to be driving a Mercedes. Everybody. And then they go to the car dealerships and say, well, you need to sell these Mercedes to these people cheaper. Well, I could sell them a cheaper car. I have cheaper cars, but you told me I can't. It's illegal. I have to sell them a Mercedes. Well, yeah, we want them to have a Mercedes, but we want you to only charge what the, cheap. I don't want to make any car brands angry, but
But we're not sponsored by Mercedes either. But you're just saying that's
true. I'm hoping we are though. Maybe just keeping it open. But if I say a Kia is the cheap car, then anyway, but I think people know that. Like a Kia, good car, and it's great for a lot of people. That's why a lot more people drive Kias and Hyundais and whatever you want to look at. They drive those more than they drive Mercedes, okay? Well, how does the government get to come in and say, well, we want to, and you've got people who need vehicles that can only afford a Kia, and they can afford a Kia. They want a Kia. And then they're saying, well, no, we're not going to let that Kia be available. You have to wait till you can afford a Mercedes. And that's what's happening. You're putting so much expense in these codes into how the house is built. You're making it so expensive that people can't get into it because you are saying it has to be that expensive. Give them the option of buying. I mean, make it safe for them. I mean, I'm not saying you sell them a nice Kia, but it's half the price of the Mercedes, and we could do that with homes. But they just keep cranking this stuff up, and that's what we're out there fighting for. When we're in DC, we're like, stop. We have less than in our state, and I know it's nationally. I think the number's 3%. Less than 3% of people nationally drive an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
But the federal government and our awesome administration right now, insert sarcasm here, is trying to require us to put electric vehicle chargers in every bay of every garage of every house we build. Why? There's 97% of the country doesn't need them, but yet you're going to make 100% of the people pay for something that 3% of the country need. And this is what they're doing. So keep this in mind. I'm again, sorry, soapbox moment, but we have a bunch of smart listeners listening to this. If you're listening to the Build With ICF podcast, you're obviously of above average intelligence, and you need to get this word out. And tying it back into ICF, we have opportunity to be involved in this conversation and I hate the word affordable housing. I hate it.
Attainable.
It's overdone. Because what is affordable? We just, it's different for different people. But I think attainable housing, be able to attain a safe home should be what we try to help people do. And we can do that within the ICF world. And I think it's A lot of that is in the way of when you look at money savings, you're looking at going into like multifamily connected homes, things like townhouses, condos and stuff like that is where ICF can really help. We still build, and I know this gets us in all kinds of trouble. People love to argue with me that how much more expensive ICF is and that they did this. And I will still stand here because I'm not lying. We build ICF homes and we match pricing with 2x6 construction. So please reach out if you think I'm lying, but we will do the same home for the same price as a 2x6. So we know there's ways for us to make attainable homes for people, and if we can keep it simple, that doesn't mean I'm building them mansions. It doesn't mean I'm building them some huge gargantuan rustic, mountain modern.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying we can build 1,200 to 1,500 square foot starter homes out of ICF all day long at the same price as a 2x6 constructed house, hands down. So we can be a part of this conversation. The nice thing is that what you're doing for those people to be an attainable home is those people that are starting off with a lower income every month have a lower income as well. So it's not just buying the house.
Yeah.
They have to heat the house and cool the house. That they have to maintain that house if something goes wrong or gets broken, or how long that house is, the longevity of the house. That's where ICF is really going to start. The long game of it is where we can be a part of that attainable house conversation, and that's where you got to look at it. You got to go look. We're putting in the work at the front end, and it's going to make things better for these people on a month to month basis. If their bill instead of $150 a month is a $50 a month. Yeah. That's $100 they could put away in savings. That's $100 they could put towards their grocery bill. That's $100 they could put towards their kids or their college or paying the house down. That is how it's attainable. Same house, same price, 2 1,500 square foot houses, one ICF, one stick frame. That house, I promise you, in 90% of the country is going to cash flow an extra couple $100 a month for the person that's living in it in utility costs, period. Unless asterisk being some very if you live in Hawaii where the temperature is never higher than this or less than that, they still need air conditioning. But anyways, if you live somewhere that anywhere that has fluctuation in temperature from night to day or summer to winter, you're going to make that money back. So there's a lot of that where I think we're in that conversation, and I think I'm pumped up after being out there for a week, hearing how our association, the National Association of Home Builders, is looking for answers. They're asking questions. And I think that if you're in the business and you have an opportunity to go meet with your local home building association and talk to them and say, hey, I'd really like to be part of this conversation. If you guys are looking for opportunities for us to build better, I want to join, I want to be a member, and I want to make myself available to talk. If anybody's got anyone else wants us to talk about it, I'm happy to have that conversation with any of your local associations. And I have lots of different people we can put them together with too in different areas of the country. So it's just exciting to see that the home building association is finally coming around and saying like, hey, there's an actual legitimate need to be talking to some ICF guys here. We need, the fact that they're going to spend the money. I mean, they're putting a production crew on this, and I will be doing this shop talk here, and I'll film it in July, and it will go live in August. They're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're going to send they're doing a production crew to do this, and they're having me do this recording. So, and we'll link that to all of our listeners and stuff. Once it's out, I'll put a link out. And if you have to be a member, you do have to be a member of the National Association of Home Builders, but I'll put a link out to that. And if anyone wants to know more about that too, I mean, that's part of my job. Part of your job as our role with the National Association of Home Builders is to educate people on that. So if any of our listeners are have any questions about being a member or anything, please let us know. We definitely can get you signed up.
I think we actually had one of our listeners, there was a picture that was posted of us. We were tagged in something, and somebody that follows us replied and asked how to get involved, how do they find their local and stuff. And so our executive officer actually responded to him because it was she was on that post too. She was tagged. So it
is working. There people were getting membership under this, but yeah.
But I just think if you are, if you're a ICF manufacturer and you have territory managers, you have salespeople out there selling it. If you're an ICF distributor, if you're an ICF installer, get involved with your local, because it is doing so much right now.
Yeah.
We're getting the attention. It's finally starting to happen. I mean, we've had a presence at the Builder Show for a very long time.
Right.
And it, we get a lot of leads, we get a lot of hype, during that show, but it's never transferred over to the other meetings or over to Capitol Hill like I feel like it did this year. So that was our plug for getting involved.
Well, and it's going to bring you business. I mean, I'm not asking you to do this for free. I mean, we kind of jokingly call these our free jobs because we don't get paid to be members of the association, but it's paid us back so much in business of people that we meet at these organizations. And especially when there's not a bunch of ICF guys there. I mean, you're walking in a room and like you are in, say, I mean, we have statewide in ours, we're just over 1,500 members. And those 1,500 members pretty much know me as the ICF guy. I mean, they're like, they come to me with any ICF question. And it's because I've got involved in, and when we had at our local membership where we were, 400 people, I was definitely the ICF guy there. They'd come in and be like, hey, I saw an ICF. Tell me about that, or I'd get referred. Oh, my friend said you're, in this organization with them and you're the ICF guy. So you definitely make money off of this, being involved with this and becoming that expert for people. So it helps a ton.
But more importantly, and I think this is, my soapbox here, is this industry has provided a very good living for me for the past 20 years. My company just celebrated 20 years of business this year. So it is my duty, if I want our kids to take over our business, to get out there and protect this industry and protect the right of homeownership. Our industry, people are getting out of it. People are getting tired of it. They're getting out of it. And it's just going to make it, more difficult to buy a home. So we've got to be out there, and somebody has to get out there and be willing to put their money where their mouth is, or mouth, whatever it is. I can't think.
Money where their mouth.
Yeah. You got to get out there and volunteer and show and protect your industry, because that's what is going to protect years to come.
Yeah. And like I said, it's definitely that's something that if you're passionate about it, and like I said, I think we have the right audience on this podcast, because you're probably not listening to a Building with ICF podcast just for fun because you ran out of crime podcasts, or you got tired of Joe Rogan or something. I mean, you're probably pretty into it. So I think it is. I think we could make a big difference. And I think that in combination with, obviously, we got the ICFMA out there. We've got the National Ready Mix Concrete Association. We've got a lot of different organizations out there, PCA and different things that we can, that are doing things. But a lot of them don't have local branches where you're at. So no matter where you are in the country, there's pretty much going to be a home building association or a BCA or whatever. There's going to be an NAHB branch locally. So it just gives you an opportunity to get involved and do it. And I think it's cool. I mean, the more we get involved, and we were able to, it's not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying that we're just getting more recognition. I was up for Associate of the Year for the National Associate of the Year at the Builders Show. And I got to, I didn't get my chance on stage because I didn't win, but I got my name presented, and I got, and recognized.
Finalist.
I got recognized, and people ask when you're a finalist, well, what does he do? They look you up. They do research on you. And there's Vanessa was great. Wrote a little article about me in the ICF Builder magazine about it. That as a first time as a ICF person being recognized at a national level for Associate of the Year. So super cool stuff. I just think we have a lot of good things going on. I think that's kind of the vibe I want of this episode is just like we went out there and represented our industry at Washington, D.C., and we're blown away at the reaction we got and the reception that we got by an association that's been very, very skewed towards the stick frame guys. I've been involved with this association for over 20 years, and I've always felt like kind of the black sheep, and they're like, oh, you do what? Like, oh, well, we build with, that's that.
They get confused, like, oh, you do foundations.
Yeah. Oh, foundation. I put foundations under all my stick frame houses. No, I built it to the trusses. So anyway, it's something where I just I'm almost feeling the respect that I haven't felt for 20 years. I think, where people are, like I said, reaching out to
the pendulum
me.
is shifting.
Yep. So you're in the right place. If you're listening to this, you're in the right industry. You're you're in the right place. If you're a homeowner listening to this, just trying to figure out if you're going to use ICF, obviously, I think this is just reassurance that you're on the right track. You're making the right decision, that, this is a conversation that's being held nationally now. And I think it's just legitimacy to why you should. So I think this should help even the people that are just doing this for themselves or for one time DIY, whatever it is. So anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I think that if there's anything on here, I know even not ICF related, we're putting it out there to please reach out to us about anything with the National Association of Home Builders, anything about your locals. If you want us to help out with that, if anything we can do, please get involved. I mean, we're in a election year. There's going to be some really major, decisions made this year, and it's the best time to get involved. And this is a way for you to, I'm not saying you got to be political, but it's a way to show your support, because the monies from your membership go to support the association, and part of that goes to representing us in bigger places. So it's kind of your way to be involved politically a little bit, and the bigger our membership, the more we can represent people, the more powerful we are. So please reach out to us with anything on that. You can get us, as always,
at Build With ICF on the socials, info@buildwithicf.com in the email.
And most anything, I'm getting better at this. I apologize if anyone I delayed on my reaction time on this, because I didn't realize how many people could shoot you messages through their listening.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So like sometimes I get behind on that and I forget to go look at like Google or Spotify or iTunes, because some of those messages go directly to that. And if you don't go check it, sometimes I don't see that. And some are better than Spotify's really good about sending me an email saying that there was a question asked through Spotify. So yeah, if you do that too, that's great. I'm sorry. You're better off to hit me up on Instagram or on our info@buildwithicf.com, because that's usually where I'm paying attention to on a daily, multi-times a day, daily basis. But anyways, we get around to it. We've got some more listener questions coming up. So keep hammering us with
next episode.
Yep. Keep hammering us with the Build With ICF questions, and we love them. I've got a list going. I've always got a list going, but keep sending them in, and let us know what we can do. Let us know who you want to hear on here. Still got some interviews that we haven't been able to line up the time correctly. It's kind of almost comical at this point. Like every time one yin and yang, it's like every time we're in town, they're not available. Every time we're out of town,
we're probably going to end up having to do some here pretty soon where it's just you interviewing them or just me interviewing them, because we're both going in different directions right now with our business. So
it is building season. We love that. So it's what pays the bills until we get that huge
sponsorship,
Mercedes-Benz sponsorship, and then we don't have to work and we can just do podcasts. I'll still stack block. I love stacking block. I'll still stack it. I'm going to be stacking it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, you are.
I'm excited. Cool. Okay. I think that's about it.
I think that's it for our hiatus report and apology. And thank you for forgiving us. And we will see you on the next podcast.